there's a reason that some talking stages quietly turn into marriage and others just disappear after a few weeks. And it's not chemistry, it's not even compatibility. It comes down to a few very specific things that successful couples consistently do differently.
Let's talking stage about that.
Let's talk about it. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a marriage that lasts as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 4.5 years.
And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. It really helps us out. Having said that, let's get started.
Let's get started.
So this week's episode is entitled, What Successful Couples Do Differently During the Talking Stage. How do you like that title?
I mean, it's very apt.
Quite apt.
Very succinct.
So I've narrowed it down to 5 things that I've noticed over the years, having coached a lot of people over the years, since 2018. And of the 5 different, we'll say strategies, techniques, things that these couples tend to do differently, the last 3 are related to how they communicate during the talking stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so any idea what any of them might be?
Willingness to connect.
Okay, that would be a good place to start. So
Is it one of the 5?
No, because it's assumed that if somebody's in a talking stage, it's because they want to connect.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Willingness to get married.
There you go. That is a good one. It's not one of the 5, but that is a good one. You would be surprised how many people start a talking stage not intending to get married.
Willingness to be correct.
Okay, all right. Well, let's just get to them.
Willingness to get started.
Willingness to get started.
Let's get started.
So the first thing that these couples do differently is that they choose very, very carefully. Right? They tend to be pretty cognizant of their core wounds, or they don't have core wounds, one of the two, right? Very, very few people walk away with no core wounds after existing in a childhood and living on planet Earth. But there are people who are somewhat, their core wounds are a lot less prominent, and they tend to be securely attached. And they still believe that the world is a good place, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So these individuals are in a position where they're able to choose more authentically, according to their authentic self, rather than driven by being by underlying core wounds or fears.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So step 1 is that they choose very, very carefully. Now, what does this entail? First of all, they are literate in the basic tactics of red flag individuals. So we've spoken about people who have red flags or red flag individuals extensively on this podcast. In fact, there's a whole series that we did last quarter called the Red Flag series. I recommend that you go and check that out. But these people, these successful couple people, are very literate, so that whenever they see a red flag or they see something that might indicate a person is either not interested, insincere, is a possible manipulator, they pick up on it and will walk away. Mm-hmm. Right? The tactics of manipulators do not work on these individuals, because manipulators rely on the person they're talking to being vulnerable in some way.
Yeah.
Right? But these successful individuals, they are either not vulnerable or are so aware of their vulnerabilities that they cannot be used against them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another thing that they do that helps them choose very, very carefully is that they have a very clear, crystal clear picture of who they are actually looking for.
Yeah.
To the point that once they meet him or her, they can almost recognize them. Mm-hmm. And it's really important to know what you are looking for. Not when I say that, a lot of people tend to focus on things like similar interests, similar hobbies. Yeah, these are well and good, but these are not the characteristic. These are not important features that determine whether or not a marriage will last. So when I say that they're looking for someone and they know who they're looking for a particular personality type, right? Someone who that they can get along with, that meshes with their own personality type. They understand their own emotional needs, so they have a clear picture of the prototype of a person who will be able to meet those emotional needs, who has the capacity to meet those emotional needs. And something that's highly underrated is that they know what a healthy relationship looks like. So either because they've experienced it, they've seen it in their parents, through one way or another, they know exactly what a healthy relationship looks like. So that even when they enter a talking stage and the talking stage is not moving in a way that they're used to or that they've seen before, they're able to pick up on it and say, oh, this is not going to work for me. This is not how I expect to be treated, or this is not how the expectations that I'm willing to follow through on. Right. So it's really important to know what a healthy relationship looks like. And it's really important to know how a genuine individual moves. Like, what do they do in a talking stage that's different from everyone else? And it's really important to be aware of your own emotional needs so that you can recognize who can meet those needs. And finally, it's important to have an understanding of what personalities mesh with yours, right? Like that's a better measure of compatibility than hobbies and interests, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that makes sense so far?
So far, yeah, I'm on board.
Okay, so the first thing that those successful couples do is that they choose very, very carefully according to everything we just outlined. The second thing that they do is that they prioritize the right things that will actually determine whether or not they can build a lasting marriage, right? And we've spoken about these things that you're supposed to look for that helps you assess a talking stage many, many times. We've narrowed it down to 4C, words that begin with the letter C to make them easy to remember. Number 1, compatibility. Number 2, capacity. Number 3, connection. And number 4, character. Each of these we went through in a different episode, right? Let's start with compatibility. Again, compatibility is not sharing favorite interests or hobbies. And the reason why I am repeating this over and over is because I've been seeing this a lot recently in the last few weeks, where people or clients or individuals are saying yes to a person because they also watch their favorite anime, or they're saying no to a person because they don't like anime at all, right?
Yeah.
It's just as an example. These things are great to have, but they're not like it's like when you're purchasing a car. Having built-in DVD players is great to have, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's more important to have a car that is safe and moves. Right? Yeah. So instead, the features of compatibility that they're focusing on are shared values, worldview, and emotional capacity. So when we talk about worldview, that includes things like what do they believe is the role of a man or a woman in a marriage, right? That is encompassed under a worldview, and it's a very important feature. I have summarized all of the important things that make up compatibility. In fact, the 7 most important things that you should be assessing when you're looking at compatibility in the compatibility guide that's available for free to download in the link in the description. That brings us to capacity. So capacity is primarily, if you want to dumb it all the way down, emotional availability. So is this person emotionally available enough to be able to engage with you when things are hard and bond with you when things are good in order to build a lasting marriage? We've talked about capacity at length in a recent episode. I'm blanking on the title of that episode, but it's within the last 4 or 5 episodes. It's got the word capacity in the title, I believe. Number 3, connection. So what you're looking for when you're assessing connection is more so the quality of the connection.
Yeah.
Right? So if the connection is just overwhelming and intense, and you find yourself really thinking about this person when you're not talking to them, interacting with them directly, and it just sort of takes over your mind, and when you are interacting with them, again, these very intense feelings And if you're honest with yourself, a big aspect of that is confusion and anxiety. That's not the quality of connection that's going to lead to a lasting marriage. And people who are into that category of successful couples specifically avoid this, right? So when they see a quality of connection that fits those criteria, they're like, nah, that's not for me. Instead, what they do is they focus on connections that are quiet, that are calm, that are comfortable, similar to the connection that you would have with a really good friend, right?
Yeah.
So that would be like, think of your favorite person. It might be a sibling, it might be a friend, somebody you just enjoy spending time with, that you look forward to spending time with. That should be the barometer, the measuring stick that you will use to know whether or not this talking stage has a connection, a quality of connection that is lasting, that's sustainable. Okay. And finally, number 4, character. When we talk about character, a lot of people mistake this for social status or financial status. That doesn't, if a person, is like a physician, has a high standing in society, or is a community leader, that doesn't automatically translate to good character. Similarly, if they have a lot of money, doesn't automatically translate to good character. Instead, what you're going to be paying attention to is what we talked about in that episode dedicated to character, right? So what do they say that they will do, right? What do they say that they will do, and does this line up with what they actually do, right? Do they do the right thing? Like, do they instinctively, reflexively do the right thing, especially when you're not really paying attention, or they don't know that you're paying attention? Do they respect your boundaries? Are they quick to apologize? Personally, I summarize like the TLDR version of what to look for when you're paying attention to character is this someone who you would like your child to be like when they grow up? That's a question that you should keep in the back of your mind to decide, is this someone I admire, whose character I admire to the point that if I had a daughter, if I had a son, I would want them to be just like them, because odds are your child will be just like them. Okay? And that brings us to the third thing. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder that the Tire Camel Challenge will be starting today. If you are a woman who is serious about getting married but isn't sure where to find marriage-minded men consistently, this challenge was designed specifically for you. It is completely free, and you can sign up using the link in the description below. So that brings us to the third thing that successful couples do. And remember, the third, fourth, and fifth thing are all related to how they communicate. Are there any questions before we continue? Does it all make sense?
It's a lot of information to take in. I think it's going to require a couple of re-listens to get it all down.
Okay.
Or using a notebook on first listen.
Should I slow down?
No, you're doing good.
Or should I cut it down?
No, you're doing good.
Okay. All right. I will do my best. So the third thing that successful couples do is that they observe rather than customize. Any ideas what I mean by that?
Observe rather than customize. Is this people in the talking stage still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it's like, it's tricky, but like, instead of finding someone that's right for you, you try to see if the person who's not right for you will eventually become right for you, or something like that.
Yes, exactly. This is I've gone through so many different iterations of this sentence. This is the most clear way that I could write it, but you're correct, right?
Okay.
So the successful couples, they pay attention to who this individual already is rather than persuading them to become who they want them to be. Right? So a lot of us make the mistake. This is a mistake that I've also made in the past, where you'll meet somebody, you'll connect with somebody, and because of that quality of connection, you become overly invested. So you start making your criteria fit who they are rather than measuring who they are against your criteria.
Yeah.
And if, for example, if one of your criteria is that I want somebody who's more practicing than I am, which is it's a smart criteria to have. But this individual says, I'm not really practicing at all. It's not something I do. It's not something that my family really does. We're just Muslim by name, which is fair. This is common in the Muslim community. Then the mistake that sometimes people make will say, well, maybe I can teach them. Maybe I can convince them to be more practicing. This isn't as big a deal breaker for me as before, because I really enjoy the quality of this connection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where they start bending their criteria to fit this person rather than measuring the person against the criteria they already had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think for men to, I guess, or even women that have the hobby, it's the difference between choosing a good stock vehicle and trying to do aftermarket upgrades.
All right, I like that. I barely understand it, but the parts that I understood make perfect sense. I like that analogy a lot. Another example, and the reason why we're giving this second example is because it's extremely common, right? It's extremely common. So sometimes an individual, we'll say the woman, the person who is looking for the spouse, right, will have a high need for reassurance and is looking for someone that will stay due to a fear of abandonment. So she might be anxiously attached and is governed subconsciously by this fear of abandonment, which means she's not fully aware, but it is determining how it is that she's choosing a spouse. And because of this anxious attachment and fear of abandonment, she really, really needs someone who is going to reassure her constantly, more than the average bear, that they are going to stay.
Yeah.
So this is understandable and completely valid and very common. But a mistake that many people do is that instead of just observing and paying attention to who this person is, they will try to talk this person into being someone who stays. So they might say, I really like how this connection is going, but it's important for me that that I need someone who's going to stay. Right? I need someone who's not going to cheat. I need someone who's going to stay. I need someone who's not going to hurt me. Like, they'll speak to the fear that they have and ask this person, can you make sure that you don't do that thing? And the reason why that's not helpful is because this is someone who's going to leave, they're not going to stay just because you ask them to.
Yeah.
Or if this person eventually cheats, they're not going to avoid cheating because you asked them to. They're not going to say, oh, she specifically asked me not to cheat, so you know what, I better hold off. So it's not practical. It doesn't accomplish what they're looking for. In fact, all it does is it points out a clear and a flashing vulnerability. And like we always say, individuals who are genuine and who are non-manipulators and who are serious about getting married and emotionally available do not want to take advantage of someone who is vulnerable. So this will actually push away the type of people that you're looking for. And who really does like people who are vulnerable? Manipulators.
Exactly.
Yes. So whenever you speak to a vulnerability and you make it very clear, hi, I have this point where you can manipulate me, the manipulator will be like, yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I mean by observe rather than customize.
See, the thing with normal, regular people who are not manipulators, they're like the honeybee, right?
Yes.
But the manipulator is like the bear.
Oh.
And the honeybee, they'll build themselves up, right? And they'll create a nest, a hive, to put all of their effort, all their gains, and eventually they wish to have something to show for it. But then if they meet a manipulator, that person will destroy what they were working on, take away any benefit that they had from it, and leave them feeling empty.
Oh my God, that's devastatingly accurate. So the bear. So it turns out the bear is also a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And y'all wanted to meet them in a forest.
Right? So the fourth thing that they do Right. So hopefully it's clear how number 3 was about how a person conducts themselves in terms of communication, right? Of the things that it's not useful to say and it's better to observe. So the 4th thing that successful couples do is again related to communication. It's that they ask the right questions in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's all kinds of lists that you'll find on the internet about questions to ask during the talking stage. These are somewhat helpful, but honestly, I always recommend that people avoid those. Don't do that. I made that mistake. And then I think it was in my second talking stage back in my very early 20s, where I literally downloaded a list from the internet and I went through question by question. And you know what the individual said when he spoke to my mom? He said, she's nice and all, but I feel like I'm in an interrogation. I don't know if I want to go through with the interrogation, which is fair.
Yeah.
And that's a sentiment that I've seen over and over again over the years when I was coaching. So don't do the long list. Don't put this individual through an interrogation.
Yeah, it feels like an interview, and immediately that throws off the dynamic.
Actually, it's more an interrogation, because sometimes a person will answer the question unfavorably, and the young lady who's asked, who was the question asker, will not be able to to hold back that, because when you're in an interview, when you're in a job interview, if you answer a question and they don't like the answer, they don't let you know that. They just say, okay, all right, and they move on to the next question.
Yeah.
But in an interrogation, when they don't like the answer, they'll let you know. They'll be like, interesting. Why would you answer that way? Right? And
what have you got to hide, Johnson?
Exactly. So there's a lot more judgment.
Yeah.
And that judgment is not fun to sit through. So genuine individuals are not going to like this. They're going to walk away. However, do you know who will sit through this? Gladly. Manipulators.
Yeah.
Because when you are sitting down and you're reading all of these questions one by one, first of all, you're telling them what you want. So for instance, when a young lady asks, tell me what you think about 50-50. So what she's saying is, I don't like someone who does 50-50. Because people who don't mind 50-50 don't ask that question. So by the nature of her question, she's actually pointing out what she's looking for. And all he will have to do is mirror back to her the answers that he knows that she wants. That's number 1. And number 2, and much more importantly, is that from her asking through this list of questions, she's letting him know, hi, I'm super naive. I don't know how this works. And there's a lot of things that I don't know, which is a point of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the cheat sheet.
Exactly. So it's again, this is another tactic that people commonly use that actually works against them, where you're pushing away the people who are genuine because they don't like being interrogated, and you're pulling in the manipulators because you're telling them all of your points of vulnerability in a wonderful list, right? Yeah. So don't do that. Successful couples, they don't do that. Instead, what they do is they pick out very few questions that are very important. And even when they ask these questions, they ask them in the correct way. Now, you'll find that people, even genuine people, even manipulators to some extent, but people, when you ask them about themselves, right, they tend to answer honestly.
Yeah.
However, they're answering honestly according to the best version of themselves. So for instance, when you ask somebody, tell me what you think about, regular exercise.
I'm 6'2".
They'll say something like, I haven't had a chance to go to the gym lately, but it's definitely on my list and I really want to go back. So they're speaking to their ideal version of themselves. They're not into lying to you. They're lying to themselves. Right? So when you ask them questions directly, because they're not 100% being honest with themselves, the information you're getting is not accurate anyway.
Yeah, and even if you ask them outright, like, when was the last time you went to the gym, they might even just lie and just say, oh, last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Instead, you have to ask these questions indirectly.
Show me your gym membership. You won't know it. It goes to a different school.
So you can ask. That was actually really good. You can ask the question indirectly, right? So an example, and this is just off the top of my head, an example might be something like, I found it Like a lot of people said to go to the gym early in the morning because it's better. And since I started going to the gym early in the morning, it's just I've had so much more energy during the day rather than in the evening. And then you just leave the space open, and then they'll pipe in with something like, "Oh yeah, no, I prefer to go in the evenings," or so. Like it'll start a conversation, and by that nature of that conversation, you'll have a much more clear picture of, does this person actually go to the gym or not?
Yeah.
And again, whether or not they go to the gym is really not a feature of a lasting marriage. I'm just using this question as an example of how to ask those
it's
questions.
irrelevant.
Yes. More concrete examples are in the compatibility guide for the things that actually matter, right? So how do you ask the question is important. That brings us to number 5. Number 5, which is probably the most important.
Yep, that's why we save it for last.
The 5th thing that successful couples do is in how they communicate, right? In how they overall conduct their talking stage, the communication in their talking stage. So this is us zooming out a little bit. So we talked about observing, paying attention, like observing somebody rather than persuading them or telling them what we want them to do.
Yeah.
We talked about how to ask the questions and what kind of questions to ask. Like few. You only need a few questions to be asked the right way. And finally, we're going to be talking about overall, how are they going to communicate? Now, let me explain what I mean by this. This is going to be different for men versus women simply because of established social norms in how in their role in the talking stage, right? Overall, the social norm is that men are supposed to be the initiators and the ones who do there isn't really chasing, but the ones who do chasing. And versus women are supposed to be the ones who are the recipients and the ones who are chased. That's just social norms, right?
Yeah.
And those exist for a reason, and things tend to work out better when people follow them. Now, let's speak to the men, right? A man who is will eventually be successful. The ones who are successful in their talking stage, they are the ones who initiate regularly in order to convey real interest. However, they pay attention to the response of the woman that they're in the talking stage with, to see whether or not she reciprocates, and not just only reciprocates. Is her reciprocation consistent, and is it enthusiastic? Like overall, does she turn towards you? So if you say to her, "Assalamu alaikum," does she wait like 6 hours or 2 days before she says, "Wa alaikum assalam"?
Yeah.
So the consistency of the reciprocation and the enthusiasm of the reciprocation. So for instance, if you mention, "Hey, I saw a bird," and she responds with, "What kind of bird?"
Yeah.
It's very different from, "Okay." Right?
Yeah.
With the O and the K.
I feel like the role model of a responsive person is someone who preloads the message and then just sits by their phone waiting for you.
Oh, wow.
And so you're like, "Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam." That took 5 hours of waiting.
You're just calling me out. Maybe I did that. You'll never know, but I may have done that. Okay. So that brings us to the women, right? So the women, the how of they communicate is going to be through reciprocation. Now, I always tell the women, try not to initiate, especially in the beginning. Now, this is going to be very hard for those of us who are people pleasers and fixers, those of us who struggle with codependency, because when there is a silence, that silence is deeply uncomfortable for us, and we just want it to go well. So we will jump in, initiate, we will jump in and make the conversation go well. Now, why do you think that would be a bad idea?
If you're focused on talking, then you're not listening.
Yeah, and what is it that you should be listening for?
You should be listening for like palpitations, nervousness, right? Once you find out that the person you're talking to is nervous, once they show weakness, that's when you pounce.
Yeah, just have an EKG right there ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Mm-hmm.
the hearing of a bat.
Oh.
You know, like if you train yourself to detect when someone's nervous, you can sort of just like feel it.
Honestly, the talking stages are getting more and more
Right
complicated.
there.
Yeah.
I feel it now.
Okay, all right. So what you are actually paying attention to is whether or not this individual is initiating, right? Whether or not he isn't asking you questions, whether or not he is interested. So if you are the one who's saying salam alaikum, alaikum assalam, and there's a little bit of a silence, and you don't like that silence, so you start asking questions like, all right, so how is it in that city that you're from?
Yeah.
And how was it with your family? And you're asking all these questions, and he's happily answering. If he's happily answering but not really initiating, you might have an illusion that the connection is going well.
Yeah.
But it might not actually be going well.
Mm-hmm.
That illusion can mask someone who's not actually interested in you.
Yeah.
Mask someone who is not really interested in commitment, but is looking for companionship, right? So that's why it's very important to, at least in the very beginning, try not to initiate. Just hold back. The individual who is genuine, who's serious about marriage and is looking for you, is ready to initiate.
Yeah.
And he wants to know about you, and he wants to ask these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give him a little bit of space, you'll be able to see whether or not he's doing that. And if he's not doing that, it's not for you. What you will actually do is reciprocate, and reciprocate consistently and enthusiastically, so that you will be able to communicate to him, yeah, I'm also interested.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Also, for like fair balance, so that they don't get the feeling that you're not interested. Every now and then you'll also want to reach out.
Yeah, from time to time.
Yeah.
But that's what, not in the beginning, like in the first week or so, I would hold back. Like, it's not an absolute rule, but to try to, you know, just gauge what is needed and what is necessary. But try to make at least 80 or 90% of the time that you're not the one who's initiating, in order to be able to see whether or not they're interested. If we think back to our talking stage, was I initiating?
Naturally, no.
Yeah, in the beginning, I was not. Because you were wonderful. You know, you were very excited, and you wanted to know about me, and you were asking these questions, and you were setting up the talk. You're like, all right, if you're open to a conversation, I'd like to have a conversation. So I'd tell you the times that we were free. So it's it was you who was progressing things forward, and that's why I knew from the very beginning that your intentions were solid. That your intentions, that you wanted to get married, and you were only speaking to me in order to assess me for marriage, right? So those are the 5 things that successful individuals tend to do differently when they are in the talking stage.
Yay.
We made it. Are there any questions?
No, yeah.
Oh.
I learned how to gauge nervousness.
You did?
Yeah, during this episode.
How did you find me?
It just sort of unlocked.
Oh.
You know?
Yeah.
The ability to gauge nervousness, not finding you.
Oh.
The ability to gauge nervousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
New skill acquired.
Yeah, just recently.
It's interesting.
Right there.
There it is again. Okay, so that's everything. If pencils down. If you have made it this far in the episode, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr, we truly appreciate you, because we know there's so many other things that require your time. If you haven't subscribed to our channel on YouTube yet, please subscribe to our channel, even if you're on a different podcast platform, simply because it really helps us to get our ideas out to as many people as possible. If you are a young woman and you are looking to figure out how to assess compatibility, the compatibility guide is in the description. And finally, if you are interested in the Tire Camel Challenge, which will show you how to position yourself to better meet marriage-minded men, again, the link is in the description, and it will be later today, right? So it's available, but it's available today. So that is everything. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe wherever you are, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.